Alright, next we get one last point is mankind is unique in all of creation. Genesis underscores repeatedly the fact that mankind is different from the rest of creation. God spoke a command and fish appeared, birds appeared, plants and animals burst forth from the earth. But mankind was created differently. We share the same original matter with the rest of creation as God used the dust of the earth to create us. But he did more than merely speak a command when he created Adam. He fashioned the dust with his own hands and breathed directly into his nostrils. Only human beings are created in the image of God. This in itself is a deep subject for consideration. What does it mean to be created in God's image? In an intellectual sense, Adam and Eve were like God in that they could exercise reason and understanding. In a moral sense, they were like God because they were good and sinless. That of course will change when they sinned. But there is no room in Genesis for the notions of evolution. We gain nothing by suggesting that the 6 days of creation were actually 6 billions of years, because Genesis makes it clear throughout chapter 1 that God did not use evolution to create mankind, or any other aspect of the world that he made. And so, I don't know if it's exactly cut and dried like that, but of course definitely you see later on, after Adam and Eve have children, those children somehow find wives and husbands. So you have to understand, maybe you don't know how long Adam and Eve lived before they sinned, so they could have had many sons and daughters and populated the earth, and then they all had children. But then after they sinned, everything went down, and then Cain murdered Abel. And this also definitely shows against environmentalism, because God's going to take care of his creation. I mean, we're still stewards of the earth. We still should throw our trash away, get our emissions tests, try not to go do dog fighting or bull fighting or cock fighting or something. That's so stupid. Animal cruelty is definitely wrong, but I'm still going to drive my car. I'm still going to use hairspray from time to time. I haven't used it recently, but use my refrigerator, keep my lights on. I'm not gonna kill myself just so I can save the environment, because that's not my goal. I do not worship the earth, I worship God who made the earth. Alright. More questions. How does this passage emphasize the gentleness and love of God toward creation? What does this suggest about his view of you personally? We already answered that question, but it does view that he loves everything he makes. He has a plan for everything he makes. He had a plan for me. He had a plan for you. And he loves you despite your hatred for him. And so, what aspects of creation did God name? Like, he named the sun and moon and stars. He named the birds, the fish, the animals, the humans. He named the sky, the sea, the land, and every earth, rock and tree and creature. And what aspects did he allow mankind to name? He allowed Adam to name every single animal. And what are the implications of this? It means like we're the rulers over creation next to God himself. We are like Joseph to Pharaoh. Like, he's the main king, but we rule over him. We rule over the rest of the land in the name of God. So why does God rest on the seventh day? And what does it mean that he blessed the seventh day? Oh yeah. And so, thus the heavens and the earth were created in their vast array. By the seventh day, God had finished all the work of creating that he had done, and on that day he rested from his creation. God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on that day he rested from the work of creating that he had done. So, that's like the first 3 verses of chapter 2. So, why does God rest on the seventh day? He does that because he's done with all his working. It's time to take a break. What does it mean he blessed the seventh day? He blessed it because everything was complete on that day. God likes everything being complete. God is OCD, and it's a good way. So, how do you respond to the fact that Genesis 1 disagrees with the teachings of modern science? Well, most of the time, science does try to prove that God doesn't exist, and usually they prove more and more that he does exist. And the amazing thing is, Charles Darwin was a Christian. I mean, he didn't form his theories of evolution because he wanted to prove God wrong. He wanted to prove him right. And people twisted his words, and at his deathbed, he was very grieved that he had made such a monstrosity of his theories. People can believe in evolution and believe that God was behind it and did it, even though it kind of seriously takes into question the words of Genesis, because it very much does not match up. There's a missing link, yeah. But how do you respond to the concept of God's created order? How do you respond to the idea that God has ordained levels of authority? I still don't think that means women can't preach. That's my only liberal view. And I'm pretty conservative, so. But God's created order amazes me because it shows how much God really wanted us and planned every single event. And so what do you learn about God's love from these passages, and how does this affect your relationship with Him? Well, it doesn't really affect it because I, for the most part, have a good relationship with God, even though I'm lazy and I get scared sometimes. But God's love is definitely orderly. It's definitely better than anything the world could offer. And we should not want for anything else. And so that's my story. Sticking to it.